Now, once again, Raymond Arroyo.
Welcome back to The World Over Live. My next guest is a three-time Olympic gymnast. She won 4 medals, including the gold. I sat down with her recently to talk about motherhood, her incredible career, the 2016 Rio Games, and the faith that has seen her through her entire life. We also talked a little bit about a certain cloistered nun that you and I know very well. Here's my exclusive interview with Dominique Dawes. Dominique Dawes, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me on.
And returning to the show,
I know.
this time without a baby.
Yes, my 2 little ones are at home with Jeff, and he's doing all the heavy lifting now.
That's okay. We're going to give you some heavy lifting. You have said motherhood is harder than the Olympics. How so?
Oh my goodness, I trained for 3 different Olympic Games when I was a young child, and it was a lot of a commitment in the gym day in and day out from 5 a.m. till nearly 8 p.m. at night. However, with my girls, it's 24/7. I have a 2.5-year-old, and then blessed to have another little girl who's now turning 1 very soon, and they keep me busy. They're very energetic children, and as an Olympic athlete, we tend to be type A and very controlling and like to manage everything in our lives, and you really can't manage a toddler or an infant the way you
break you right down.
They will break you down, and they do that to me every day, but it's this is the happiest time of my life.
Wow. No, I see you, I follow you on Twitter. I see you on your trips and journeys with them, and it makes your life full, though.
It does. That's a great way to put it, because I will say that before I was happy and I was very fulfilled and I was pursuing my passions in life, and then I meet Jeff, my husband, the man of my dreams, and you know, someone that definitely humbles me as well, and then we have these 2 beautiful girls right away, and you know, I've never been happier and never been more challenged, and it's just a better me that comes out.
We saw the Rio Games. You were all over commenting. You were doing special events. I mean, it was an amazing time. When the Olympics roll around, do you get a little nostalgic?
I do, but now that I'm turning 40 very soon, I know that I should not put a leotard on.
You pass for half of that.
Well, no, I love announcing the fact that I'm 40. I'm looking forward to it. I know that there's a lot of women that are like, oh, I'm 40 or I'm 50, or they don't want to get older, but I do feel as if each and every year I get a little wiser. I let go of a lot more junk in life, though my husband would like me to let go of a lot more things. Like, I tend to be considered a hoarder. I love collecting things.
Oh, you sound
but no, sentimental value, right?
Well, you got to hold on to those memories to
give
them to the Smithsonian later. But you actually might give them to the Smithsonian. I won't.
The Smithsonian actually had one of my Olympic Leos for many, many years. They've now since sent it back, and they've probably gotten Gabby's or Simone's now. But you know, just turning 40 very soon, I love it, and I'm challenged, like I said, with my family every single day, and you know, it's just I've never been happier.
Tell me, I read somewhere there was a particular verse, a Bible verse, that you brought to mind right before you went into competition. Tell me about that.
Well, many times I would always, you know, get in my head and make sure I was understanding that my thoughts were going to control my body. My coach, Kelly, used to always say that your mind controls your body. So the best way to make sure that I was doing the things that I wanted to do was by this Bible verse, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And this summer I was on Good Morning America daily speaking about the Olympic Games, and I brought that to mind because that's something to recognize that you're never alone, even on that balance beam.
Well, here's what's so weird, and that's from Philippians 4, okay? A series of Olympic athletes, and I'll read the names: Gabby Douglas, Lori Hernandez, Jake Dalton has it tattooed on his side.
Oh, ow.
Do you think they were inspired by you?
No, not at all. They were inspired by him. I mean, just recognize, I
know, but you got a whole Bible. What's the chances of the one verse being used by all these gymnasts?
Well, gymnastics, many times people think it's a team sport, but it is an individual sport, and you are out there alone until you recognize that you have Jesus Christ on your side, and to recognize that you are going to overcome this fear with his help. You are going to overcome this pain with his help. You are going to overcome this anxiety or this pressure with his help. And I know whenever I marched out at the Olympic Games, either in 92 at 15 years old, 96 at 19, or 2000 when I was over the hill and a grandmother, I was marching out with him on my side and recognizing it wasn't just me.
What's it like? You look at Simone Biles, you look at so many women inspired by you. You were the first African American to win a medal in gymnastics. Does it still sort of give you goosebumps?
It does.
When you see these other women who followed in your footsteps.
It is a surreal experience to know that by not quitting, not giving up, always believing, having the right people in my corner, like my coach, my teammates that picked me up. I wanted to quit all the time. It was a very difficult sport, but my teammates were there for me. That by not quitting, I was able to inspire a few generations of gymnasts to reach their full potential and overcome what I was unable to accomplish. So, you know, I got an opportunity to meet Simone Biles this summer, and I will say the highlight is the fact that my young daughter, Kateri, now always is talking about Simone Biles.
Really?
And doing cartwheels too. She's 2.5, and she's like a self-taught gymnast doing cartwheels.
The genes, you know, it's in the blood.
It's
they say.
Jeff thinks it's from him.
Yeah. Oh well, of course he would, but I think we know better. Let's talk for a second about the display of faith we saw, particularly at this Olympics. Katie Ledecky and some of the gymnasts we talked about, the other athletes. Faith seemed to be a big part of this. Why does it loom so large? And why do you think athletes are more willing to talk about their faith than perhaps people in other professions?
I don't know. I think it's good that faith hasn't been taken out of sports. You know, I mean, it's an individual or team component, and people recognize that sports can be very challenging at times, and sometimes it's just you in that gymnastics gym, and you need to lean on someone, and that someone that's always there is Jesus. So I really can't speak personally for Katie Ledecky or Jake Dalton or Lori Hernandez or Gabby, but I will say that faith is really what got me through. Faith is really what helped me persevere and not quit. I mean, I was going through many difficult personal things in the sport of gymnastics. My parents got divorced, you know, just challenging periods of abandonment and just low self-esteem. And when I would lean on Christ, I always felt more whole.
Supported.
Yeah, exactly.
I came across something. In fact, I'm on a plane. I remember this distinctly. And on my phone, I'm getting all these pings coming in from journalists, from friends, because the New York Times has a series they run called Breaking Bread. And it asks prominent people, particularly athletes like yourself, if you could choose anybody who's left us, a dead person, who would you choose to have dinner with? And Dominique Dawes says,
Mother Angelica.
Why?
Well, my best friend is my husband, and so I'm always consulting with him, like, oh, you know, let's think, who would I want to dine with? And, you know, I'm that kind of person where, you know, not always trying to get something from someone, but, you know, just reading her story and knowing that she dealt with abandonment from her father and, you know, certain personal struggles and pain and how she was able to give that up and offer that up to Christ. I was like, I need to learn from this young lady because I've dealt with some moments of abandonment, and I've dealt with some pain and some suffering, and I do feel as if my pain, my passion is to help empower people and encourage people, and she was able to do that. And so, you know, I thought, you know what, why not? I'd love to dine with Mother Angelica, and she, you know, as you probably read in the piece, you know, I want to make my chitlins. You know,
well, that's what I was going to ask you. Tell people about the dinner you would set for her, and then I'll give you my reaction when I read that. Tell people, what was on the menu?
Well, my favorite food when I was a kid was chitlins. My mom used to cook chitlins. You know, I grew up on soul food. And that's how she grew up. And so when my mom would ask me what I wanted for dinner, I was like, I'll clean the chitlins. And so Mother Angelica grew up with poor blacks and poor Italians. And so she would appreciate and she would enjoy some chitlins.
Well, not only that, when she was in Birmingham, she had, there were two ladies, Willie Mae and Rosie, whom I remember distinctly, who would cook for her when she was doing the show, only before she did the show, otherwise she ate in her monastery. And they made a lot of soul food and Southern cooking, so she would feel right at home at your table.
It's good food, and that's why I eat a lot of vinegar and hot sauce on many of my foods. But the other thing is she was a cloistered nun, and I, by nature, am introverted. And my husband has told me that I many times have isolated myself, many times because I didn't have very much trust. When you deal with abandonment issues, you have trouble trusting, and that's what I read from her, that the abandonment issues and that she had to overcome and then to learn to trust. And so that's what
you wrote at one point, and that you would ask her, how were you able to embrace both of these very opposite vocations, being a cloistered nun and being on television and leading this network?
Exactly.
Is that something you grapple with?
I do. I am by nature an introvert, and yet I was thrust into the Olympic spotlight at 15 years old. And I do love people. It's not that I don't love people, but I love a very small group of individuals. And yet throughout these years, not only on the Olympic stage, but then finding my next passion in life and empowering others and motivational speaking, that I've spoken to hundreds and thousands. And yet I do always feel a little bit of anxiety or nervousness, but there's an excitement there that I do embrace just knowing that I can make a difference. And I wanted to know how she was able to embrace and make such a large impact in both of her different lives.
When I asked her, how do you transition between those two states in life? Because she would run. She'd go from teaching her nuns in the monastery, then she'd come out, she'd have meetings with the people at EWTN, do a live show, and then she was back in the monastery. I said, how do you do that? She said, you don't bring one world into the other. You drop that hat, and you do the next thing in the present moment, and when that's over, you drop it. She said, I have a do-drop system. I do it, and I drop it.
A do-drop system. I'm going to take that.
I'll have to give you, the little book of life lessons has all these great spiritual nuggets that she gave me, but they speak to a lot of the questions you raised in the column. It was a great piece.
Oh, thank you.
Before I let you go, would you encourage your daughters, should they show an interest, to pursue an Olympic career?
Oh, not necessarily an Olympic career. I'm glad you said it that way. Gymnastics, yes, it is a beautiful sport. It'll give you a healthy, strong foundation for many other sports that one may pursue. Flexibility, coordination, strength, balance, exactly, is wonderful. But the Olympic pursuit, it takes a unique individual, a unique personality with the right coach and the right environment. And it really does force you to put your faith and family somewhat in the background, on the background a little bit, because as I was a young person, when gymnastics wasn't going well for me, it was the end of my world, because gymnastics was my world. And so I do not maybe wish the Olympic pursuit for my two daughters, but if they have the talent and they have the focus and the drive, then I'll be there to support them.
I love having you on. Thanks for being here. This is why they call you Awesome Dawson.
Oh, it's been many years.
No, I still call you Awesome Dawson, and there are a lot of people who do. Thank you for being here, Dominique. What a pleasure.